The echo of the World Series still lingers in the air, but for the blue and white heart Toronto, the sound is different. It's the sound of an ending and maybe a beginning, with the Los Angeles Dodgers crowned back-to-back champions. Baseball officially enters the offseason, and now the focus shifts to what truly matters, the future. The free agent market opens this Thursday, and that's where the Toronto Blue Jays must face a harsh reality. Because 6 players who took the field during the postseason may have, without knowing it, made their final appearance in the Blue Jays uniform. Silent heroes, battle-tested veterans, gambles that paid off, and names that carried Toronto's weight all the way to Game 7. All now stand on the edge of decisions that could redefine the team's direction. The feeling is mixed. Pride for what was accomplished, but fear for what lies ahead. Because the Blue Jays nation knows rebuilding hurts, but giving up was never an option. Leave a like and drop a comment, faithful blue and white, because this is a time to show that the heart of Toronto beats stronger when the future is uncertain. Player 1, Max Scherzer, the warrior of 1,000 battles, the man who has seen everything baseball can offer, reaches the end of another chapter. At 41 years old, he endured a season of highs and lows, marked by his battle against time and flashes of brilliance. Toronto brought him in with hope and respect. They knew they weren't just signing a pitcher, but a mindset. Scherzer spent the year walking the line between exhaustion and determination, trying to prove that he could still deliver when the stage was biggest. And what came next no one expected. Even while dealing with pain, even after being left off the ALDS roster against the Yankees, Scherzer returned for the ALCS and the World Series. 3 games, 14 innings, 6 home runs allowed. Numbers that show wear, but also courage. Because in Game 7, he was different. For innings, just 1 earned run, and the sense that the old Max was still there. And when he told reporters, "I just can't imagine that being the last pitch I ever throw," the words hung in the air. Toronto didn't hear it as a farewell. They heard it as a plea for one more chance. And now the question is, do the Blue Jays want to be the team that gives them that chance? Behind the scenes, the feeling is one of deep respect. Younger players talk about the impact Scherzer had in the clubhouse, the intensity, the preparation, the way he treated every workout like a championship game. Manager John Schneider praised his quiet leadership, and the fans, even knowing his limitations, saw something rare in him. Someone who still plays the game with soul. His 1-year, $15.5 million contract is up, and now the dilemma is both financial and emotional. Because keeping Scherzer isn't just about paying for performance. It's about paying for legacy. And the Blue Jays nation knows how to recognize a warrior. Baseball is cruel with time. It forgives no one, not even the greats. But there's something about Max Scherzer that defies logic, a flame that refuses to die out. Maybe Toronto needs that spirit more than it needs stats. Maybe the next step is realizing that rebuilding also means keeping those who inspire. His presence in the dugout throughout the World Series was more than technical. It was symbolic. It represented resilience. It represented the kind of mentality Toronto needs if it ever wants to return to a final. And if that really was his last pitch, it was worthy. But if it wasn't, Blue Jays Nation is ready to see another round from this legend. Player 2, Chris Bassitt. The 36-year-old veteran has, over the past 3 seasons, been one of the most solid pillars of the Toronto Blue Jays rotation. He arrived in 2022, stayed, produced, and kept the team competitive even when injuries and inconsistency threatened to tear it apart. In 2025, Bassitt did what he always does. 31 games, 11 wins, 9 losses, a 3.96 ERA. Numbers that speak of reliability. But what came next, no one expected. A back injury sidelined him for the divisional series against the Yankees, but he returned for the ALCS and the World Series, though in a new role. John Schneider decided to move him from the starting rotation to the bullpen. using him in high-leverage innings. And Bassitt, instead of questioning the move, embraced it. In 8.2 innings, he allowed just 3 hits and 1 earned run, that one coming in Game 7. The way he accepted the change impressed everyone. He became the guy you could trust no matter the situation, teammates said. But now, with his contract expired, the question is inevitable. Can the Blue Jays afford to lose another piece like him? Inside the clubhouse, Bassitt is seen as a quiet leader, a tireless worker, one who doesn't need spotlights to inspire. The transition to the bullpen revealed a selfless, team-first mentality that earned universal respect. The front office knows what he represents, a reliable arm and a steadying presence. But the financial reality is harsh. After 3 years and $63 million, Toronto must decide whether to invest again in experience or take a chance on youth. The fan base is split. Many see Bassitt as the embodiment of what the Blue Jays should be: calm, consistent, and competitive. Others believe it's time for renewal. Bassitt's story in Toronto mirrors that of many veterans who helped build an identity without being the face of the franchise. He wasn't the star, but he was the backbone. And in a sport where emotion weighs as heavily as talent, losing a player like that could cost more than it seems. The Blue Jays reached as far as they did in 2025 because of guys like him, willing to change roles, accept challenges, and fight until the end. Maybe Bassitt's future isn't in Toronto, but the spirit he leaves behind will stay at Rogers Center. And for Blue Jays Nation, that too is a victory. Player 3, Seranthony Dominguez. In the middle of the postseason storm, when the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen seemed on the verge of collapse, a new name emerged as an anchor trust. Seranthony Dominguez, acquired in a trade with the Baltimore Orioles at the end of July, arrived in Toronto without much fanfare, but quickly became essential. The rotation was fatigued, the games were decided by inches, and the team needed someone who could handle the pressure. Dominguez didn't just hold firm. He transformed the bullpen. What he delivered was stability, poise, and total commitment. And what came next, no one expected. Dominguez finished the regular season with a 3.16 ERA over 67 games, split between Baltimore and Toronto. Solid numbers. But it was in October that he truly earned the respect of Blue Jays Nation. In a decisive postseason series, the Dominican right-hander became a constant presence in late innings, logging 11.1 frames of pure intensity, allowing only 5 hits and 4 earned runs. On a team fighting to stay composed in its most critical moments, he was an emotional anchor. But now, with his 2-year contract coming to an end, the dilemma is clear: re-sign him or make room for new bets. Dominguez's arrival changed the entire atmosphere of the bullpen. Players said he brought a kind of quiet confidence, the kind that spreads, that gives security to everyone around. The fans noticed. Rogers Center had a different energy when he took the mound, because everyone knew stability had arrived. John Schneider used him as a fireman, the guy you call when things are burning, and he never shied away from responsibility. The problem is, the market for reliable relievers is inflated, and the Jays have other priorities. But among the fan base, the sentiment is unanimous. Losing Dominguez now would mean giving up one of the few strengths Toronto had in 2025. In a season of ups and downs that tested every nerve in Toronto, Seranthony Dominguez was consistency. He represents what the Blue Jays need most right now. Players who don't shine only in stats, but who hold the team together quietly in the background. And that, to those who understand the game, means everything. If Toronto truly wants to preserve its identity as a resilient, team-first club, Dominguez is the kind of player they simply can't let slip away. He embodies the human side of a rebuild, the part that doesn't make headlines but keeps the team breathing. And if that was his last appearance in blue and white, he left the bullpen and the fan base stronger than he found them. Player 4, Kiner-Falefa. The image is still alive in the hearts of Blue Jays Nation. Bottom of the 9th, Game 7 of the World Series, Rogers Center roaring. Dalton Varsho hits a slow roller down the line. The championship run breaks from third base. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa sprints, dives, stretches, and is tagged out by inches. Inches that separated Toronto from its first title since 1993. That was the final play of the season, and maybe the last moment of IKF in a Blue Jays uniform. The 30-year-old, who had already left Toronto once before, returned in 2025 determined to prove he could still contribute, and ended up being a key piece when Bichette went down. Now, with his 2-year deal expiring, fate may once again pull him away. Kiner-Falefa's year was a story of perseverance. He started as a bench player, gained ground after injuries, and finished the year as a dependable starter in crucial games. In total, he recorded 113 hits, 40 RBIs, and 2 home runs over 138 games. Modest numbers, but ones that tell a story of effort and versatility. In the playoffs, his bat struggled. Just a .162 average in 37 at-bats. But defensively, he was a rock, filling in for Bichette with steadiness and confidence. And, ironically, it was his hustle on that final play of the World Series that defined everything. It's hard to imagine a more poetic or more painful ending. The fans' reaction was a mix of heartbreak and admiration. IKF may not be a star, but he's pure effort. Never complains, never hides from work. His teammates respect him for that. He's the kind of player who adapts, does whatever is needed, and keeps the clubhouse united. The front office values that mentality too. But baseball is ruthless with budgets and contracts, with new prospects rising and limited cap space. Keeping Kiner-Falefa might not fit the plan. Still, many fans hope he stays, because they know players like him can't be measured only by numbers, but by the soul they put into every game. Baseball is a sport of milliseconds and emotions, and IKF's story in Toronto is exactly that, a portrait of the fine line between glory and heartbreak. He represented everything this 2025 Blue Jays team tried to build: resilience, unity, and courage. Being thrown out by inches from a championship stung deeply, but it also showed how hard this team fought. And if his journey in Toronto ends again, Kiner-Falefa leaves behind more than stats. He leaves an example, because in the end, Blue Jays Nation doesn't just remember who won. It remembers who gave everything for the jersey. Player 5, Ty France. Every offseason has that one player who almost flies under the radar, but whose story is one of effort, sacrifice, and persistence. In 2025, that player was Ty France. He joined the Toronto Blue Jays at the trade deadline from the Minnesota Twins, in a move that didn't seem major on paper. He was seen as depth, a utility option to round out the roster when needed. But as the season went on, he became another crucial piece in John Schneider's puzzle, a team with heart, fighting until the very end. And what came next, no one expected. At 31, France didn't post eye-popping numbers. He hit .277 in 94 at-bats, with 8 RBIs and 1 home run. It wasn't the impact Toronto hoped for, but on the field, he showed what matters most in October baseball: presence. Even in limited appearances, he stepped up in key moments, including 2 World Series games. In one of them, he drove in a run, a small contribution on the biggest stage of all. Now, with his 1-year, $1 million contract expired, France's future is uncertain. He may not have been a star, but he was part of the group that took Toronto to the edge of glory. Behind the scenes, Ty France earned constant praise for his professionalism. He knew his role, respected his teammates, and took on every challenge without complaint. That didn't go unnoticed, especially on a team that played under so much pressure. Teammates spoke about how he always stayed ready, even when his name wasn't called. Manager Schneider publicly praised him, calling him a player who understands what it means to be part of a team that fights together. The fan base didn't have time to form a strong connection with him. It's hard when playing time is limited. But among those who follow closely, there's quiet respect. France may not be remembered for his stats, but for being part of the group that reignited Toronto's hope. Ty France represents the kind of behind-the-scenes player every great team needs. The one who doesn't make headlines but keeps the foundation strong. His short stint with the Blue Jays is a reminder that to reach Game 7, you need more than stars. You need unity, commitment, and humility. Maybe he won't return in 2026, but the attitude he brought is exactly what every clubhouse wants. He wasn't a headline, he was part of the story. And for a Blue Jays nation starving for redemption, that matters. Every small contribution was a brick in the rebuild Toronto has been working on for years. And if 2025 ends in uncertainty, it also ends in pride. Player 6, Bichette. The Toronto Blue Jays entered the offseason carrying the weight of one of the most emotional seasons in recent memory. It was a year of highs and lows, comebacks and heartbreaks, a fight that ended just inches away from a dream. Game 7 of the World Series still lingers like an open wound. That near title hit, that defensive play that changed everything. And now, as the roar of the crowd fades, what remains is uncertainty. 6 key players officially hit free agency. 6 pieces that stood shoulder to shoulder in the chase for a championship. What Toronto built in 2025 was special, but fragile. And what came after, no one expected. Among those who could leave, the most symbolic is the shortstop who became the face and soul of this team. Bichette, at 27, reaches the end of his 3-year deal and could test the market. Maybe to stay in Toronto, maybe not. He gave fans a glimmer of hope, saying, "I've always said I want to be here." Words that sound like music to Blue Jays Nation, but also like a warning. Because on the field, Bichette was a heartbeat of the team, leading the Jays in hits, RBIs, and total bases. Even after his late season knee injury, he returned for the World Series and played like someone who knew it might be his last dance in blue. A home run in Game 7, an unforgettable performance, and a question that still hangs in the air. What means more, loyalty or the open market? Losing Bichette would be more than a financial blow. It would be emotional. He represents the new generation that believed Toronto could rise again. The fans know what this kind of loss feels like. They've seen it before. And that's why every rumor, every whisper in negotiations echoes loudly across the city. The fear isn't just about losing a player. It's about losing identity. The clubhouse feels it, the fans feel it, and the front office knows one wrong move could alter the next decade. Bichette has always been more than numbers. He's a symbol of a Toronto that refuses to fade from relevance. Seeing a player like him consider another past stirs old memories of past stars who left and those who stayed to rebuild. Maybe this is the moment when Toronto must decide what kind of team it wants to be. One that sells hope or one that keeps it alive. Blue Jays Nation holds its breath, knowing that in baseball, goodbyes are never final, but they always hurt. Baseball is made of cycles, and what Toronto faces now is the end of one. 6 players, 6 different stories, but one shared feeling, that each of them left a deep mark on the blue and white heart of the city. Bichette, the symbol of a generation. Max Scherzer, the warrior who showed what it means to compete until the last pitch. Chris Bassitt, the quiet rock of the rotation. Anthony Dominguez, the calm within the storm. Kiner-Falefa, the tragic hero of an unforgettable moment. Ty France, the unassuming player who embodied teamwork. Each of them carries the weight of a season that ended inches from history, but also the pride of being part of something greater. Because 2025 for the Blue Jays wasn't just about wins and losses. It was about belonging, about a team that refused to quit, even when everything seemed lost. Now, the cold of the offseason sets in, bringing the inevitable questions. Who returns? Who leaves? And above all, what will this team become? But one thing never changes. The heart of Blue Jays Nation keeps beating, strong, loud, and stubborn. Because this fan base doesn't live on certainty. It lives on faith. To be a Blue Jay is to believe, even when the sky looks gray. It's to look at an empty diamond and still see possibility. Share your thoughts, Blue Jays Nation, and leave a like to show that this passion never cools. Because Toronto's blue doesn't fade, it endures. Always.